It's Saturday Stockman Stampede, an open tag started by Terry's Knives and Man Stuff. If you haven't checked out his channel, go take a look at it now. I think you'll really enjoy his content, so give him a sub. Last week I showed you a case Stockman 75 pattern in this smooth brown bone. Now I had originally got this knife, this is in True Sharp, I got this knife to use during the summer months because during the summer I'll get hot and sweaty and a knife that's in my pocket, even if it's in a slip, is going to get soaked. That's just the way it is. That's how it happens. I love carbon steel blades, but I'll have an issue with them rusting in the summertime. So I bought this knife in True Sharp to solve that problem. The issue with this knife is this brown bone. It's like somebody oiled it. It's so smooth. This knife has actually slipped out of my hand a couple of times. So in order to solve that problem, I got this one. This is another 75 pattern, and this is in green bone. I got this knife mail order, and it just turned out to be one of the ugliest things ever. This one cover was literally this thick. It looked so odd, and it was actually very uncomfortable in the hand because the knife was so out of balance. Now, I don't mind the bone not being the same thickness on each side, and especially in covers that are made out of stag, there can be a substantial difference in thickness from one side to the other. And that's just fine. It's natural materials, and that's the way it is. But this one was so far out of whack, the knife wasn't even usable. So I sanded this side down on the belt sander, and this was my first attempt at ever doing any kind of jigging. Then I had to add some black dye to give it color here again because I sanded away most of the black. So this side turned out pretty good, but I wasn't happy with how it transitioned from black to green. So I'm going to insert a picture here of what my original mod looked like. One thing to note is the sharp transition between the black and the green. Now what I have done here is I went and I reapplied some more black dye to try and even out this transition and to make it fade from the dark black over to green. So the green here is a little bit darker, and I've added some more dye through putting some on and wiping it off and going through that process to try and get dye to soak in where I wanted it to soak in. And I think it turned out pretty good. This is definitely an improvement on this side. Now let's take a look at the other side. I'm going to insert a picture here of what the other side looks like as it came from the factory. It is one of the most ugly covers I have ever seen. Now, this is what it looks like after adding some more dye. I sanded these sides down with 400 grit sandpaper in order to open the pores up in the bone so some more dye would soak in. And then I put a lot of black dye on here. I had this knife soaking in black dye for probably 3 hours just by applying it and leaving it puddled on the surface. And it took a while to get these areas right in here to be a little bit darker. So I think this is a big improvement over what you saw in the picture. And the green here is also a little bit darker. I got a little bit of black in the green. So I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. So that's both sides. Then I did one more modification to this. Still, the spade blade, when you opened it up, right there on the corner of the nail nick, right here, it would catch and it would just stop it cold to where you couldn't open the blade. So what I did is I went ahead and I'm not going to call it a swedge, but I put a little bevel in the area here where it was rubbing and duplicated it on the other side. So now when I go to open this blade, you can still hear it rub, but it opens smoothly. There's no resistance. So now this knife both looks a lot better than it did before, and it functions a lot better than it did before. So this knife is ready to take out and use. So this knife will probably see quite a bit of use this winter because it can also be quite wet in the wintertime, especially if you're outside working and shoveling snow and doing different things like that, and you work up a sweat. So This knife is now in good shape. I'm happy to carry it, and it'll now see a lot of use. Thank you. We'll see you on the next one.